Hello and welcome to another episode of GooseDrunks. My name is Bailey Myers, and we're going to be reading the second half of R.L. Stine's seminal classic, Welcome to the Dead House. Okay, the rules of the game are really simple. 1, you take a drink anytime an adult is being stupid. 2, you take a drink anytime the language is inappropriate for the narrator. 3, something legitimately creepy happens. 4, there's a cliffhanger or cat scare. And 5, your sibling is being annoying. To accompany the book, I'm going to be drinking whiskey and Dr. Pepper. So basically the last chapter ended with us going to take a walk with our brother Josh and our dog Petey, who is definitely going to die. Like, definitely going to die. It's very upsetting. So they're walking through the neighborhood and surprised the rest of it is creepy too. I know, what a shock, right? And they wind up walking toward school when a boy stepped out from behind a low ledge. And then Petey, runs up to the boy, sniffs his sneakers, and I want you to take a guess how that dog reacts. He growls. So they introduce themselves. The boy's name is Ray Thurston. And then suddenly Amanda realizes that Ray looked familiar. And then she gasps in fright. Oh, Ray was the creepy boy she had seen in the house earlier. And that's legitimately creepy, so I'm going to take a drink for that one. And she just is like, were you in my room? And then Ray says, I haven't been in your house in a long time. That's so creepy too. Apparently, Ray used to live in their house. He says, yeah, I used to live in your house. So Amanda asks where Ray lives now, and he just kind of vaguely points up the road. I feel like I'm on Blue's Clues, where Steve's like, where's the clue? And then the little children are like, behind you. But I feel like Amanda is not listening to me, the studio audience of children. We're 9 chapters into the book, and she still hasn't realized that this entire town is full of ghosts. I'm making a drink, not because of any reason, but because I want to. Ray's like, yeah, I liked your house. I liked living in it. And Josh is like, I think it's gross again, which it's come up with new words. I'm drinking because he's annoying. It's rule number 5. Look it up. And then Josh says, maybe we could go to your house, to Ray. And Ray shakes his head and says, no, I don't think so. Not now, anyway. A clue! A clue! Oh my God! Where is everyone, I asked, looking up and down the empty street. And then she says, it's really dead around here. Do you get it? Do you get it? He literally laughs at that and says, yeah, I guess you could say that. A clue. How many more ways can I say this? I'm gonna drink now every time there's a clue. At this point, I feel like she's being willfully obtuse. Okay, whatever. He suggests going to the playground behind the school instead, and they agree because that does sound fun. So they turn the corner and they see a big group of kids. Then she describes what they were wearing for a while because I guess that's important. So Ray introduces everybody. He's like, this is George Carpenter and Jerry Franklin and Karen Somerset. Their names all sound like crappy pseudonyms, nobody is named Jerry Franklin. And if your name is Jerry Franklin, do not comment. I don't want to hear from you, Jerry. One of the girls asks how she likes Dark Falls. She's like, it's my first day here. It seems nice. Everyone laughs. A clue. And Karen Somerset, who's a tall girl with blonde hair, comes over and says, I used to live at your house. Genuinely creepy. Everyone drink. Everyone gets quiet, and then Karen steps back into the circle of kids. And then she looks around, she's like, wait, the circle? And realizes that, yeah, all the kids are surrounding her in this big, creepy circle. I'm gonna drink for that. I glanced around the circle, feeling fear tighten my chest. The circle tightened, just like the fear. That's a cliffhanger. Them's the rules. Okay, the kids are still closing in on them. And then suddenly she hears a voice off camera or whatever. Hi kids, what's going on? Obviously it's Mr. Dawes. Everyone turns, he's walking very quickly toward them, but has a big smile on his face, which I get freaked out when a person who is walking quickly toward me. If they were grinning at the same time, I think I'd scream. So I hit my teeth. Mr. Dawes is like, hey, Josh, Amanda, didn't see you there. What are you doing with those bats? And the kids are like, it's for baseball or something. So the kids don't form a circle after Mr. Dawes leaves. They just keep walking. And Amanda assumes that that's because they hadn't been forming a circle before. And then she talks, I swear to God, she talks about playing baseball with these ghosts for 2 freaking pages. She says, everyone seems really nice, especially this girl named Karen Somerset, who had a great smile, even though she wore braces on all her teeth, up and down. In death, you shouldn't have to be bullied by teenagers. The sun starts to come out, and then everyone's like, oh, we should go home, because that's not suspicious. A clue. Karen's like, let's hang out sometime. And Amanda's like, do you know where I live? And then Karen's like, yes, I know it. I used to live in your house. Drinking because that's creepy. If you meet one person who used to live in your house, that's already creepy. 2 people, and it's ghosts and you gotta run. And it's a cliffhanger because it's the end of the chapter. Okay, basically we're gonna call this one 2 drinks. And so they keep like hanging out with these kids and they're playing baseball one day and then they go back to the fence and Petey is gone. And they go home and you'll never guess, but Petey's not there. Amanda blames Petey. She's like, that troublemaking dog. Like, you're awful and you don't deserve him. They're eating dinner and Mom's like, some night for a party, huh? And our narrator explains retroactively that Mom and Dad were going to a party that night. After dinner, Mom and Dad go to the party and then Josh and Amanda go up to their rooms and Amanda sees all her clothes are just thrown around the room. And she's like, Mom clearly did this. That's very out of character for her. We drink for that. So Amanda's lying awake. She hears creaking floorboards, sits up in the darkness, and then Josh is like, it's me, don't freak out. That's so annoying and scary. There's so much scary stuff happening. I'm drinking for annoying silling. Josh shines a flashlight in her eye and is like, it's a halogen flashlight. Sorry. Is that even a thing? I don't feel like that's even a thing. I'm gonna drink because that's made up and I don't like it. So Josh is like, I think I know where Petey is. I think he is in the cemetery. Josh convinces Amanda to go to the cemetery with him and find Petey. They're walking along when Amanda hears scraping behind them. Someone was following us. End of chapter. Cliffhanger. Drinking. Yes. They turn around and it's Ray. Ray's like, where are you going? They're like, the cemetery to find our lost dog. Ray tries to convince them not to go to the cemetery. And it says he's very menacing about it, so I'm going to drink because that's creepy if he's menacing, obviously. So they're like, if it's so scary, then just come with us because strength in numbers. And I guess Ray can't argue with that, so he goes with them. They get to the edge of the cemetery and they find this like amphitheater, which is weird. And Amanda goes, what on earth? I'm going to call that one language too advanced for the narrator. Ray's like, oh, they use it like a town hall, which doesn't make any sense, even remotely, but fine. And as they turn to leave, Josh sees Petey. And he goes chasing after Petey, and the dog starts to, like, trot away. And then Josh goes and picks up Petey and goes, hey, Petey, what's the matter, fella? And then drops him and goes, oh, he stinks. I'm like pretty confident this dog is dead at this point and is a ghost dog. So this stinking thing really raised a lot of questions for me. Like, do all ghosts stink? Shouldn't they not? Like, it's the body that smells, right? So the spirit, your spirit doesn't smell, does it? I feel like the gist of this is the dog has died and I don't like it. Josh says, maybe this isn't Petey. Yeah, he's just another identical white terrier running around this tiny little suburb full of ghosts. Yeah, I bet you're exactly right, Josh. I'm drinking this. Such a stupid suggestion, honestly. Like, there are helpful suggestions, and then there are this. Petey starts running away. Josh is like, don't let him get away. But it's like, he's the one who dropped him. So it's like, annoying. Drink. They're stumbling along. And then a beam of light from the flashlight hits one of the gravestones. And Amanda reads the name of the stone, stops short, and gasps. It's Karen Somerset. The blonde girl that Amanda was going to be friends with in spite of her braces. So they keep moving along the gravestones, and they see all the kids that they played with. Jerry Franklin, George Carpenter, Bill Gregory, blah, blah, blah. Ray Thurston. And she turns around, and Ray is there, and she's like, Ray, this one is you. His eyes flared, glowing like dying embers. You know, the way that no 12-year-old would ever describe something. He says, yes, it's me. I'm so sorry, Amanda. Cliffhanger, cliffhanger, cliffhanger. Ray says, I'm sorry, you weren't supposed to find out yet. Dogs always know. Dogs always recognize the living dead. That's why they have to go first. What did I tell you? Petey is dead. Petey is always going to die. This poor dog, all he did was be a good dog. And what happens? They killed him for it. Poor Petey. I'm going to drink for Petey. And then Ray pretty much confirms everything that I have been saying, which is Hugh's the one in the window. They're all ghosts, etc., etc. And he's like, we need fresh blood. Gasp, says Amanda. What does that mean? The town. It can't survive without fresh blood. None of us can. You'll understand soon, Amanda. You'll understand why we had to invite you to the house, to the dead house. That's the title of the book. I feel like I should drink if they say the title of the book, like verbatim. And they sure did, buddy. They sure did. Suddenly light breaks through the darkness, says chapter 14. It's Josh with his halogen flashlight, and he shines the light on Ray's face. And Ray's like, turn it off, turn it off. But Josh doesn't turn it off, and you'll never guess what happened. Ray starts to melt, Wicked Witch of the West style. It's crazy. They start to run to go tell Mom and Dad, but then they realize Mom and Dad are at that potluck party, and then they realize probably that's a trap as well. So Mom and Dad are probably in trouble too. And then they hear a voice that says, what's your hurry? And you'll never guess who it is. It's Karen Somerset with the braces up and down. Karen goes, we used to live in your house. And it's like, we've established this already, Karen. What do you want, though? And then George says, we used to live in your house. And it's like, oh my God, legitimately creepy. But again, we get it, so. And now guess what? Jerry added, earning his SAG card. Now we're dead in your house, the book tells us in italics. Chapter 15 begins with Josh stating the obvious. They're going to kill us. Yeah, like, obviously. Annoying. They all laugh. They're like, don't be scared. Soon you'll be with us, etc. Ghost talk. And then Karen's like, this is the dead house. This is where everyone lives when they first arrive in Dark Falls, when they're still alive. Like, there's so much to think about there. There are so many implications with that. Like, there's just one house. People live in it for what, like a week, and then are murdered. Where does all the stuff go? What happens to it? Where do those people go? What happens to all the other houses? Like, do people live in them? Do the ghosts live in them? Does each ghost get their own house? I don't understand. These are the many questions I have. So they run home to see if Mom and Dad are there, and you'll never guess they're not. And then they hear a knock at the door. And so they run to the door, and they think it's Mom and Dad, but it turns out it is Mr. Dawes, which makes sense because why would Mom and Dad knock? Come on, guys, get it together. Very dumb narrator, drinking. And our narrator, Amanda, is a freaking moron. So she's like, Mr. Dawes, we're so happy to see you. We couldn't possibly imagine you being in on this, blah, 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 blah. Mr. Dawes is like, there's no time to talk. Quick, get in my car. I think we're in terrible danger. And they are, but it's like, don't get in his car. You've only met him once. Mr. Dawes is like, I was at the party with your parents, and all of a sudden, they formed a circle. They started to close in on us. Oh my God, Mr. Dawes is like the Ray for the adults. And then Amanda, who's a moron, is like, but where are Mom and Dad? Mr. Dawes is like, come on, I'll show you. They're safe for now, but I don't know for how long. They all pile in Mr. Dawes' car because they don't understand stranger danger, like even a little bit. They stop at the cemetery and get out of the car, and Josh sees Petey. Josh starts chasing after Petey, but trips on a low gravestone. His flashlight shines on the gravestone. You'll never guess whose it is. Compton Dawes, 1950 to 1980. May he rest in peace. Okay, chapter 16. Mr. Dawes, like, closes in on them. And then Mr. Dawes gives us a ton of exposition. Apparently, it was once a normal town. It had like a plastics factory on the outskirts of town, and then there was an accident. A big gas appears over the top of the town, and then suddenly everyone is ghosts. Amanda cannot get her stuff together because she's being a very terrible older sister. So Josh is the one who is like, where are mom and dad? And Mr. Dawes says, safe and sound, come with me, it's time for you to join them. Amanda's like, I really don't want to do that, but Mr. Dawes wants us all to know that it doesn't hurt to die. Well, thank goodness for that. Josh, picking up the slack for Amanda, dives for his flashlight, shines it on Mr. Dawes, except for the fact that the light doesn't even turn on because it is broken. The last sentence of the chapter, Amanda says, my heart is pounding. I looked back at Mr. Dawes. The smile on his face was a smile of victory. Mr. Dawes starts corralling them forward, and Josh takes a flashlight and heaves it at Mr. Dawes' head, hits him in the center of his forehead, and splits a large hole in his skin. He cries out, and Amanda and Josh run. Meanwhile, the sun's coming out, and while they're running away, she realizes Mr. Dawes isn't following them because the sun's out and it's too bright for them. And then Josh is like, wait, who's that? So they hide behind a tombstone. All these people are walking past the gravestones toward that like weird amphitheater thing that they had seen before. So they go to the amphitheater but like hide behind a gravestone so that no one can see them. And they look down at the amphitheater, and mom and dad are like, they're tied up back to back, standing at the center of the floor at the bottom of the amphitheater in front of everyone. Amanda's like, maybe if we push this tree over, we'll be able to interrupt whatever they're doing. So she takes a running jump at the tree. Nothing happens. Josh joins in. Still nothing happens. So they're pushing. And then chapter 17 ends with, it didn't budge. Chapter 18. The very last chapter. I don't know what's going to happen. So Amanda and Josh keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Nothing is happening. The tree seems like it gives a little, but then bounces right back. It goes on for so many pages. The amphitheater is like full of people, by the way. Like just so many ghosts. And finally, after so much pushing, the tree gives way. It falls quickly. It hits with a thundering crash that seems to shake the ground. Ooh. I grabbed Josh and we stood in amazement and disbelief as bright sunlight poured into the amphitheater. Turns out the sun is these ghosts' weakness. Vampire-style ghosts will melt in the sun, it turns out. Mom, Dad, I cried. I'll never forget their smiles as Josh and I ran forward to free them. And then there's the afterward, which is they all pack up and move really, really quickly. They're getting all this stuff, they're packing it up, and then they see like a red station wagon pull into the driveway. And they look up and they see two boys about Josh's age jump out with their parents. Here we are, kids, the mother said, smiling at them, our new house. And the boys are like criticizing the house, but what I'm criticizing here is, how did Mr. Dawes sell them the house this fast? Like, the timeline doesn't work for this, but I've never purchased a house, so what do I know? And so they're packing up into their car, and the kids are like, who are you? And Amanda's like, I used to live in your house. And then she turns and runs full speed down the street. I didn't look back. I slammed the car door behind me and we sped away. And that's the end of the book. What the hell? First of all, who does that to someone? Listen, there's not a lot more I can say other than I wish that Amanda had died.